Welcome back to my Dallas Cowboys blog. This is now the start of day 3 of the NFL draft. And so, Dallas Cowboys, an episode of Dallas? I hope not. I came here for some football. I've attached an image. It's obviously not in the YouTube video, but if you look in the description, you can see a link to the GIF. And it shows still one has Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones on day 1 of the NFL draft. Jerry is pensive, sitting literally closer to his son Stephen as they play a conservative move and let the board fall to them. Still 2 has day 2 of the NFL draft. Jerry Jones is in a noticeably bright blue sports coat and no tie. He's sitting a visible distance from Stephen. Day 2 has Jerry Jones written all over it with the trade up and the bold move. For all I know, Jason Garrett asked Jerry Jones to summon all his superpowers this day. He came to Jerry and begged him to use his mojo to get a special pass rusher. Or maybe Jason was just glad to limit the damage to rounds 2 and 3. The proof will, of course, be in the pudding. If D. Lawrence is great, then he's worth it. But this is so in line with the chronic problems in Dallas that I just can't paint it in pretty pictures. Dallas has a superstar problem. The franchise overinvests in too few a pool of players. They always seem to have 25% the top 100 picks other teams have. Morris Claiborne, D. Lawrence, and even Sean Lee all bear the burden of replacing the 2 draft choices the Cowboys gave up for them. Good drafts are made out of 4 players or more. What is Dallas counting on? Late round players are typically not good. All that aside, the Dallas Cowboys need bodies. They need bodies that can play at an NFL level. And you're probably not going to get that in the 7th round. He might get one a year. When in 2012 Dallas acquired Mo Claiborne, they lost a 2nd round pick. That's a good player with an important role on the roster. In 2014, Dallas loses a 3rd round pick. Does it even matter? Should we give way to pure cynicism? Gavin Escobar didn't do too much last year, and he was a 2nd rounder. And J.J. Wilcox didn't even play ahead of Heath. And J.J. Wilcox was a 3rd rounder. Heath was undrafted. I think J.J. Wilcox will rebound, and I think Gavin Escobar is on to good things. I have more about Gavin Escobar later, well after the draft, but broadly, let's hit a point here on the outro, but this isn't the out. Dallas gives up players who on other teams are serious contributors. When injuries beset Dallas, they have no depth and the team falls apart. The pressure of 2 men are on Morris Claiborne and now DeMarcus Lawrence. When they miss time, that's 2 roster spots that are missing because of the draft picks we forfeited. There's a myth about Dallas that sometimes Jerry takes a backseat and sometimes he comes to the front. That's why I made that image. Again, here's another link to that GIF. I don't know if the horse came before the cart, but I know that when I saw Jerry Jones's jacket, that the rumors of a high trade-up were indeed true. So here's the deal, and yeah, I want to shred Jerry, but Dallas's brain trust, which is a whirlwind of Dionysus and Apollo from Jerry and Jason. It doesn't matter if Mo Claiborne misses when the team is mediocre. It matters when the team can seriously compete. I believe that's what Jerry Jones is trying to reason. Excuse me. That Jerry Jones's logic on why he trades for star players is that when he gets his star players all to be all on the field at the same time, then they'll do magical things. So it doesn't matter if Mo Claiborne misses when the team is mediocre. It matters when the team is really good. And there is a codified optimism of injuries in the front office that when players aren't overcompensating for bad players around them, they get hurt less. So let me say that again. When players aren't overcompensating for bad players around them, they get hurt less. So Dallas feels like, I think that Dallas is of the opinion that if they assemble the right collection of talent playing the scheme the way it was meant to be played, then they'll put players in less risky, injury-prone positions. So when players aren't overcompensating for bad players around them, they get hurt less. That's a spirit going back to Bill Parcells. Dallas believes that a handful of young stars can go all season without getting injured. They apparently believe that because they trade up for stars. The story here is that even though the Jason regime can suppress Jerry Jones for 1 round, they can't suppress him for 2 or 3 because his reach goes so deep. When they first hired Jason Garrett, I thought that he was the one guy that could outsmart Jerry and keep him satisfied while building the team he wants. There's 2 angles to this story. Jason Garrett wanted DeMarcus Lawrence very badly and asked Jerry to get it done, and Jerry happily put on his working sports coat and got to it. Or Jerry Jones was fed up with the boredom of day one, wanted to punch up the showbiz, and didn't want to miss his favorite primetime television. That's why he wrapped it up so early on Friday. He had to go out and club. So there is a way to evaluate this. How quickly is DeMarcus Lawrence legit? Mo Claiborne is a bust so far. But if both Mo and DeMarcus start and finish 2014, Dallas could have at least a 50% defense, get in the middle of the pack. That's like twice the defense of 2013. There's this exponential relationship. Because Dallas invested more in these two players, there's more writing on them. Yet if you have one elite defensive end and one elite cornerback, you can build a championship defense. The payoff is huge. I'll have all of June to contemplate why Dallas hates the middle rounds. First rounders and undrafted free agents seem more likely to make the roster 4 years later than second round picks do. DeMarcus Lawrence is listed at 251, but he looks like he could get bigger. Partly because you look at his hands, and they're huge. He has huge hands, and that's a big part of his game. I look forward to seeing him develop a swim move and a punch-out where he pops the opposing blocker in the chest. Having big hands means basically having big weights at the ends of your arms to hit other people with. I see him do the dip and rip, which is that you have to be able to bend your waist, go underneath the tackle's block, and then as you turn the angle to come back to the quarterback. It's very difficult and takes a lot of athletic skill to be able to do that. And I've seen him do that on film. He also runs with his butt really low to the ground, which is also a tremendous asset among pass rushers. Essential for weak side rushers. So back to Jerry Jones as Dionysus and Jason Garrett as Apollo. It takes a healthy dose of passion and intelligence to succeed, but the organization goes at it in a chimeric way. The chimera, is that right? Chimera. The chimera had a head of a lion, a goat, and a snake. Dallas on Thursday had Jason Garrett as its head. You look at the picture and you see everyone in a suit, a dull business suit. You look at day two, Dallas makes a bold trade up. You look at that picture and everyone is wearing a dull business suit except for Jerry. Jerry is wearing a baby blue sports coat that I'm sure came with a yacht. He's also sitting visibly alone. Friday night definitely brought out a Jerry day, a Jerry Jones day. The adage that Jerry Jones usurps his head coaches, in my opinion, is true. Obviously true. Especially true when it comes to drafting. He famously stopped Bill Parcells from drafting Marcus Spears over DeMarcus Ware. So, in one instance, he stopped the greatest, most empowered head coach that he ever hired. Most critics agree that Bill Parcells was very empowered within the Dallas organization, and he still overrode Bill Parcells' wishes. So Jerry, in that case, made a great choice. DeMarcus Ware is far better than Marcus Spears. This is sort of usurpation isn't going to go away, even if Jerry Jones hires someone to take complete control. Jerry once told Bill Parcells no. Who else can he say no to? I bet he can say no to a lot of people. This reminds me why I support Jason Garrett so much. I think he's the one guy that can still harness Jerry's chaos for his own good. There's a lot of pressure on the franchise to see that Lawrence is an outstanding player. They've put the pressure of a second and third round pick on him. I've been over this before and earlier and last year, I'm sure. When I said Dallas has a superstar problem, I didn't think it'd become my mantra, but it's still relevant. I think I'll end up changing the title a little bit. Dallas and the Superstar Problem, a history of trade-ups and worthless second-round picks covering the years 2003 through 2014. Not to say Lawrence will be bad, I actually think he's a really talented player. But Dallas has a history of scrap-heaping their second-round picks. And when we have injuries, we shake our fists at the sky and wonder why we have no depth. We trade away our depth. Here's to a healthy season in Dallas. That's pretty much the only way our defense is going to make it, with great health. Good luck on day 3, though. Some stuff to look for here in day 3. We need big-bodied dudes to stop the run and keep Sean Lee clean. So I want a really big defensive tackle. At this point in the draft, it really is about the best player available, though. You no longer are trying to procure a guy that you're sure is going to help your team. At this point, you're looking for guys you're going to develop and guys you're going to use in a limited role. If this guy's starting, he's either tremendously talented and overlooked, or your team is seriously flawed. Fourth round pick shouldn't be starting right away. They should at least, have better players ahead of them. So we could end up taking any position, really, wide receiver, running back. I'd be shocked if we took a tight end, maybe a tight end in round 7, a blocking tight end. But if we take one in the 4th or 5th round, I probably won't be able to make a follow-up post. All right, so good luck today, day 3. I'm looking for defensive tackles, but I know that those guys are hard to come by. Saving that, maybe we really double down on our passing offense, give Tommy Romo a third option in the spread sets. All right, I'll talk to you later. Good luck today.